Spring also mentions a mood boost as a potential benefit.
Really?
Yeah, apparently sound healing can encourage the release of endorphins and serotonin, which are those feel-good chemicals.
Oh, wow. So it's like a natural mood lifter?
Yeah, sort of. When we're stressed, our bodies are in that fight or flight mode, which doesn't exactly promote happiness. But sound healing helps us relax so those positive neurochemicals can flow more freely.
Interesting.
Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always excited to explore these fascinating topics.
Well, today we're diving into the world of sound healing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at this article, The Sound of Healing, How Frequencies Can Transform Your Mind and Body.
Okay.
It's by holistic life coach Violet Spring. Have you heard much about sound healing?
I've heard bits and pieces, but I'm really curious to learn more.
Yeah, me too. It seems like it's having a real moment right now.
Yeah, it seems to be gaining popularity.
Yeah, so the basic idea is that, everything vibrates.
Right. At its own frequency.
Exactly, and that includes our bodies.
Yeah.
And when those vibrations get out of sync, that's when we start experiencing issues.
Makes sense, like an instrument that's out of tune.
Exactly. And sound healing uses different vibrations and frequencies to try to bring things back into harmony.
I see. Kind of like retuning the body.
Exactly.
This isn't a brand new idea, though, is it?
No, not at all.
Ancient cultures have been using sound for healing for centuries.
Exactly, yeah. Tibetan monks, indigenous tribes, all sorts of traditions have incorporated sound into their healing practices.
So it's really interesting to see how this ancient wisdom is now being explored through a modern lens.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something Violet Spring gets into in her article. She talks about how different frequencies, measured in hertz, can have unique effects on us.
Hertz.
Yeah, hertz. It's basically a measure of how many sound waves occur per second.
Right. Okay, so like a higher frequency would be a higher pitched sound.
Exactly. And a lower frequency would be a lower pitched sound.
Got it.
And she explains how different frequencies affect us in different ways. Like a low drum beat can be very grounding, while a high-pitched flute can be very energizing.
I can see that. Makes me think of how different types of music can affect my mood.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about how our bodies and minds react to these vibrations. And then she also gets into brain waves, which are these electrical patterns in our brain that correspond to different mental states.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those, like alpha waves for relaxation or beta waves for focus.
Exactly, yeah. So there are delta waves, theta waves, alpha waves, beta waves, and gamma waves. And each one is associated with a different state of consciousness.
So does she explain how sound actually interacts with these brainwave patterns?
Yeah, that's where the concept of resonance comes in. Have you ever heard of that?
Vaguely. Something that objects vibrating at the same frequency.
Exactly. So imagine you have two tuning forks. You strike one and the other one starts vibrating without you even touching it.
Oh, right, because they're tuned to the same frequency.
Exactly. And so sound healing works in a similar way. The idea is that vibrations from different instruments or even our own voices can resonate with ourselves and encourage them to vibrate at a healthier frequency.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So it's not just about listening to soothing sounds, it's about actually influencing our body's vibrations on a cellular level.
Right, exactly. And that's why Violet Spring outlines all these potential benefits of sound healing. One of the biggest ones is stress and anxiety reduction.
Okay, and how does that work?
Well, she explains how certain sounds can help lower cortisol, which is the stress hormone.
Right, and I imagine it also has something to do with activating the parasympathetic nervous system.
Exactly. That's our body's rest and digest mode. It's the opposite of fight or flight, so it helps us calm down on a physiological level.
So basically, sound healing helps us chill out from the inside out.
Exactly, and there's even research that suggests sound healing can improve sleep quality too.
Well, that makes sense, especially if it helps with relaxation and reducing stress.
Yeah. And she also talks specifically about delta and theta waves, which are the brainwave frequencies linked to deep sleep. So, practices like listening to binaural beats or going to sound baths could actually help us fall asleep faster and sleep more deeply.
Binaural beats. I've heard of those, but I'm not really sure how they work.
So binaural beats involve listening to slightly different frequencies in each ear. And then your brain perceives a third frequency, which can actually entrain your brain waves to a certain state.
Entrain?
Yeah, it's like gently guiding your brain towards a more relaxed state.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And Violet Spring
I've definitely noticed how music can impact my mood, but I never really thought about it in terms of specific frequencies and brainwaves.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. And then she also talks about enhanced focus and clarity.
Ooh, that's something I could definitely use more of.
Right. She suggests that certain frequencies, especially alpha and gamma waves, can help us concentrate better.
So it's like sound can actually make us sharper and more alert.
Yeah, potentially.
Huh. That's really intriguing. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about the Mozart effect and how classical music can boost cognitive function.
Yeah, and this seems to be building on that idea, but with a more specific focus on how different frequencies affect the brain.
Right, right. And then Violet Spring even gets into the possibility of sound healing supporting physical healing.
Yeah, she talks about how the vibrations can improve blood flow, reduce inflammation, and even potentially help with cell repair.
Now that's pretty wild, but is there actually scientific evidence to back that up?
She does cite some studies in her article, but it's definitely an area where more research is needed. You know, a lot of the evidence around sound healing is still anecdotal, but there's definitely a growing body of scientific research that's starting to explore these claims.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it's an ancient practice, so it's going to take some time for science to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. And then, she also touches on this whole concept of energy balancing.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, she talks about chakras, which are these energy centers in the body. This is getting into more traditional healing systems. But the idea is that sound healing can help clear any blockages in those energy centers, which can lead to a greater sense of well-being.
Okay, I see. So it's not just about the physical body, but also about these subtle energy systems that can be influenced by sound.
Exactly. It's a very holistic approach to healing.
Fascinating. So we've got all these potential benefits of sound healing, but how about the actual tools and techniques?
Yeah, Violet Spring lists a bunch of them in her article. We've already talked a bit about binaural beats and sound baths, but she also mentions singing bowls.
Oh, singing bowls. Those are cool. I've seen them in meditation studios and stuff.
Yeah. They're usually made of metal or crystal, and they create these beautiful resonant tones when you strike them or run a mallet around the rim. And the vibrations are supposed to be very calming and meditative.
Yeah, I can imagine that. What else is on the list?
Let's see. Tuning forks.
Tuning forks.
Yeah, those little metal forks that vibrate at a specific frequency.
Oh, right. I remember those from science class.
Yeah, so they can be used for sound healing too. She even specifically mentions the 528 hertz tuning fork, which she calls the love frequency.
The love frequency.
Yeah, it's supposed to have special healing properties, and some people believe it can even influence DNA repair.
Wow, that's pretty out there, but intriguing.
Definitely. And then there are gongs.
Gongs, like the big ones they use in orchestras.
Yeah, exactly. So gongs are used a lot in sound baths because they create these deep, resonant sounds that can be very immersive.
I can see that. I bet it's pretty intense to be bathed in those vibrations.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience. And then, of course, there's chanting and mantras.
So using the human voice as an instrument for healing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a practice that's found in many spiritual traditions around the world. And the idea is that the vibrations of our own voices can create resonance within our bodies, which can be very calming and grounding.
Wow, so there are so many different ways to experience sound healing.
It seems like there's something for everyone. The big question is, how can we integrate this into our daily lives?
Right. It's all well and good to talk about the benefits, but how do we actually put this into practice?
Well, Violet Spring has some suggestions. She recommends trying out binaural beats apps, attending sound baths, adding calming music to your meditation routine, or experimenting with singing bowls and chanting. It's really about finding what feels good for you.
Yeah, and I imagine there are tons of resources online too.
Or absolutely. There are tons of guided meditations, sound healing tracks, and even online courses.
Cool. So what does all of this mean for our listeners?
Well, I think it's clear that sound can have a profound impact on our well-being. And there are so many ways to tap into its power. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's take a closer look at the science behind all of this. You know, while sound healing is an ancient practice, modern research is actually starting to shed light on how it works.
Yeah, that's what I find so fascinating. It's like we're finally starting to understand the mechanisms behind this ancient wisdom.
Exactly. And there have been some really interesting studies showing that sound therapy can have real effects on our health. We're talking about things like reduced anxiety and depression, improved sleep, lower blood pressure, and even enhanced cognitive function.
That's amazing. So there's actually evidence to support these claims.
Yeah, there's definitely a growing body of research. Violet Spring even talks about the vagus nerve, in her article, which plays a big role in our body's relaxation response.
Oh, right, the vagus nerve. It's like the communication highway between our brain and our body, right?
Exactly. And it regulates all sorts of important functions, like heart rate, digestion, and immune response. And so the idea is that calming frequencies in sound healing can actually stimulate the vagus nerve, which helps us relax and de-stress.
Interesting. So it's like a direct line to our body's chill out button.
Yeah, sort of. And then she also talks about brainwave synchronization.
Brainwave synchronization, what's that?
So basically, when different parts of our brain start oscillating at the same frequency, it creates a more harmonious, unified state.
Oh, I see. Like everything's working together smoothly.
Exactly. And sound healing can help with this synchronization, which can lead to better mental clarity, focus, and emotional balance.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like getting all the different parts of your brain on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's entrainment, which we touched on earlier with binaural beats. It's this phenomenon where our body's natural rhythms, like our heart rate or brainwave patterns, start to synchronize with external rhythms, like a drum beat or a specific sound frequency.
Right. So it's like our bodies are naturally drawn to align with those external rhythms.
Exactly. And that can be incredibly calming and help us feel more balanced. So in a nutshell, sound healing seems to tap into vagus nerve stimulation, brainwave synchronization, and entrainment to bring our bodies and minds back into harmony.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's really amazing how ancient wisdom and modern science are converging in this field. Welcome back to our deep dive into sound healing.
We're picking up right where we left off, exploring the fascinating world of sound and its potential to transform our well-being.
It's incredible to think about how something as simple as sound can have such profound effects on our bodies and minds.
Yeah, in this part, let's revisit some of the key benefits that Violet Spring outlines in her article.
Absolutely. One that really stood out to me was the impact of sound on stress and anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who isn't dealing with some level of stress these days?
Right. It's become such a common experience in our modern world.
So how does sound healing help with that?
Well, it all comes back to the nervous system. Remember how we talked about the fight or flight response?
Right, our body's natural reaction to stress.
Exactly. Sound healing helps to regulate that response by activating the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest mode.
Precisely. It's like flipping a switch from a state of tension and alertness to one of calmness and relaxation.
And that shift can have a huge impact on our overall well-being.
Absolutely. It allows our bodies to move out of that chronic stress state and into a more balanced and harmonious state.
And Violet Spring even mentioned studies that show how sound meditation can be particularly effective in reducing tension, anger, and fatigue.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these ancient practices are now being validated by scientific research.
Definitely. And it makes you wonder what other secrets and insights we might uncover as we continue to explore the power of sound.
No, another fascinating aspect is the potential of sound healing to improve sleep quality.
Oh yeah, we touched on this earlier, didn't we? Something about certain frequencies being linked to deep sleep.
Exactly. Remember delta and theta waves.
Right, those brainwave patterns associated with deep, restful sleep.
And practices like listening to binaural beats or attending sound bath can help us access those states more easily.
It's like a gentle nudge for our brains to shift into a more relaxed and sleep-ready state.
And who wouldn't want that a good night's sleep is essential for overall health and well-being?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of well-being, the article also highlights the mood-boosting effects of sound healing.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite aspects. It's like sound can actually make us happier.
And it all comes back to those feel-good chemicals, endorphins and serotonin.
The body's natural mood lifters.
Exactly. And sound healing, by reducing stress and promoting relaxation, creates the perfect environment for these neurochemicals to flourish,
leading to a greater sense of well-being and joy.
And you know what else is interesting? She also talks about how sound can enhance focus and clarity.
Really? Now that's something I could definitely benefit from.
Well, I think we all could in today's world of constant distractions and information overload.
Absolutely. So how does that work?
Well, she suggests that certain frequencies, particularly alpha and gamma waves, can actually boost cognitive function.
So it's like giving our brains a little tune-up, helping us to concentrate better, think more clearly, and process information more effectively.
Yep, pretty cool, huh?
Definitely. And it has implications for everyone, from students to professionals to artists, anyone looking to improve their mental performance.
Absolutely. And then we get into the really fascinating realm of sound and physical healing.
Ah, yes. This is where things get really interesting.
So Violet Spring acknowledges that research in this area is still emerging.
Right, but there are already some intriguing findings.
She points to studies that suggest sound therapy can influence blood flow inflammation and even cellular repair.
The idea is that vibrations from sound can stimulate physiological processes that promote healing.
It's like sound is acting as a catalyst for the body's natural healing mechanisms.
And while we need more research to fully understand how this works, it's definitely an area ripe for further exploration.
Absolutely. And finally, we can't forget the concept of energy balancing, which Violet Spring touches on, drawing upon the ancient wisdom of chakras.
Ah, yes, those energy centers that play such a vital role in our overall well-being.
Exactly. And according to these traditional systems, sound healing can help clear blockages in these energy centers,
restoring balance and promoting a sense of harmony throughout the body.
It's a beautiful reminder that we are more than just physical beings.
That we have these subtle energy systems that can be influenced and harmonized through sound.
It's a holistic perspective that recognizes the interconnectedness of our physical, mental, and energetic bodies. Wow, we've covered so much ground in our deep dive into sound healing.
It's been a truly fascinating journey, exploring the ancient wisdom and the emerging science behind this powerful practice.
You know, as we wrap up this exploration, I'm struck by a sense of awe at the profound impact sound can have on our well-being.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We've talked about how sound can influence our brain waves, our nervous system, our emotions, and even our physical health. It's like this invisible force that can bring harmony to all these different aspects of our being.
And it all comes back to vibration. If everything in the universe is vibrating, as Violet Spring suggests, then it makes sense that sound, which is essentially vibration, can have such a powerful effect on us.
Exactly. And it's not just about listening to any sound. It's about consciously choosing the sounds that nourish and support us, the frequencies that resonate with our soul and help us feel more balanced and whole.
It's like we have this incredible ability to fine-tune our well-being through sound. It's both empowering and humbling at the same time.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I think it's clear that sound healing is a powerful tool with immense potential. And it's something that's accessible to everyone, whether it's listening to calming music, incorporating binaural beats into your meditation practice, or exploring the world of swimming bowls and sound bath. There are so many ways to tap into the healing power of sound.
I couldn't agree more. It's been an incredible journey exploring this topic with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, we encourage you to continue this exploration on your own. See what resonates with you. Experiment with different sounds and frequencies and discover how you can use this ancient practice to enhance your well-being.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep vibrating at your highest frequency.
And thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, leave a comment below, and be sure to subscribe and help us build this awesome holistic heroes tribe. And while you're waiting for new episodes, check out my other videos from these playlists.